Hello and welcome to WilmingtonBiz Talk, presented by the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. I'm Cece Nunn, Assistant Editor and Real Estate Reporter at the Business Journal, and today we are talking about the dreaded hurricane season, which starts June 1st. And with us to talk about that is Anna McRay, New Hanover County's Assistant Emergency Management Director, to give us some insight into looking ahead at this year's season and also some things that businesses and residents should be thinking about, to prepare for the possibility of a storm or major storm. So first of all, I want to say thank you for being with us, Anna.
Absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, and to get started, we can talk about the prediction this year is 19 storms, 9 of them hurricanes, and I believe 4 of them could be a category 3 or higher. So what do you guys do when you get that annual prediction?
So, the big thing is to not look at the predictions, to be really, because, it only takes one storm.
Right.
So we plan holistically with all of our partners as if every day is going to be a hurricane kind of thing. And, we focus on the need to make sure that, everybody has a plan, that they're making a kit, and that they're staying informed. And pointing people towards those resources to help them, kind of formalize those plans and personalize them. Because, we can give you tons of resources, tons of templates, ideas about, how to enhance your business continuity processes and all of that. But it really comes down to you being able to kind of internalize those and make them what you need them to be.
So if I'm a new business owner, new to town, and I call you up or call someone at the county and say, what are the main things I need to be thinking about when it comes to preparing for a hurricane in Wilmington?
So I know one of the biggest things that we focus on is making sure that businesses are able to reopen as quickly as they can after any kind of hazard, not just hurricanes, but, ice storms or, transportation accidents, whatever the case may be. So we want people to kind of be aware of the general threat first. So there are lots of resources that we have available. If you go to ready.gov/business, there are a ton of resources that FEMA has put together to help you learn more about threats and hazards that may be unique to your neighborhood or to the place where your business is. One of the key parts of that is making sure that you have a continuity plan in place to keep your business up and running, that you are adequately insured, that you're right now should be the day that you're calling up your insurance agent and having that chat to make sure that you have enough of the right kind of coverage. You should be inventorying resources, to make sure that you know what you have in case it gets damaged. But most importantly, you should be supporting your staff and supporting your family in getting prepared, because without having those key partners, able to come back to work or able to work through an incident, whatever it may be, we end up kind of shortchanging ourselves. So if we can make sure our staff is prepared, that honestly is like 90% of the challenge.
Right. And a lot of that, some of the things you said earlier would be true too if you're a resident looking at how to prepare.
Exactly. And it can be as simple as remembering, just because you're not maybe super close to the beach, there's still inland types of impacts that we see. So, we encourage people to do things like if you Google Know Your Zone, and it'll bring you over to the North Carolina Know Your Zone page through North Carolina Emergency Management. You can type in your address and you can see what the flooding threat would be. That may be a decision point for you, if you were going to evacuate or make the decision, whether or not you should stay or go. We encourage people not to look at the category of a storm. Yes, a category 3 is a big deal, but a category 1 could be a big deal too. Florence was a category 1 when she was here, in 2018. And we, all saw the damage that happened with that. So it's not so much focusing solely on how fast the wind is, but it's also understanding the risk and threat of, rising water, ravine flooding, riverine flooding from the Cape Fear, understanding the impact of rain and wind on transportation infrastructure, whether or not the power is going to go out. All of those should be factors that you yourself are making about whether or not you're going to evacuate. We always strongly encourage evacuation if you are feeling at all uncomfortable or concerned about the track of a storm or the strength of a storm. And we want to make sure everybody's safe. So that ready.gov resource has information both for general public family planning. There's stuff on there for kids on how to involve your children in being part of your preparedness solution, things on there about pet preparedness, and specifically on business preparedness as well.
Okay. And one of the things that I always struggle with, having been here 20 years and lived through several hurricanes, is whether, outside of a mandatory evacuation, whether to go ahead and evacuate to, family members elsewhere. And one of the reasons I struggle with it is because sometimes I know storms have gone inland. So what do you say when, people are kind of confused about that part of it?
Again, a lot of it is just being aware of the track of the storm and listening to those verified, vetted weather sources. So we encourage folks to go ahead now and bookmark or follow here on Facebook the National Hurricane Center and then our local weather partners with the Wilmington National Weather Service office. Their webpage is weather.gov/ILM. And they will post, information about what's going on with incoming storms or any weather system as it is. And you should use those to kind of help determine where you're going to go. The trick is making sure that that you're staying up to date on, current road conditions and making that decision if you're going to leave early. And that would certainly help support the ability for other resources to come in after the storm to quickly get infrastructure back up and running again, to get the power back on, to do any roadway clearance or repairs that need to be done so that we can bring everybody home. The ultimate goal is to get the businesses up and running again and get the community whole. So.
Right. And although hurricane season is June 1st through November 30th, I'm guessing it's something that the emergency management is discussing and preparing for all year round. Is that correct?
Absolutely, all year. And we're really fortunate in this region to have such a great partnership, with our private sector partners here, with our faith-based organizations, with the traditional, non-government organizations like the Red Cross and Salvation Army and United Way. And we get a lot of support from our state partners through North Carolina Emergency Management. And in fact, the state runs the North Carolina Business Emergency Operations Center, where again, if you Google, North Carolina BEOC, you can see information about providing services, about coordinating with them, for resource availability, or if you are in an area that does a mandatory evacuation, how to register to kind of flag yourself as a critical infrastructure. They've got tons of information on that page as well.
It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that mandatory evacuations for inland areas are not as frequent as the beach towns, or they seem to be somewhat rare. I don't know if I'm getting that right for the Wilmington area. I'm trying to recall like a mandatory evacuation for like the city of Wilmington or the places away from the beach.
Yeah, so each municipality makes its own decision about that mandatory evacuation piece. The beach towns are much more exposed, of course, because you're right there, oceanfront, and the limited ways, in and out, right? So there's one bridge onto Pleasure Island, and there's one bridge, out to Wrightsville Beach. So they, make their own decisions about evacuations. There is so much critical infrastructure within kind of the mainland, so to speak, part of New Hanover County, that we need to make sure that resources, that staffing, that those vendors can get in and support those critical infrastructure pieces. So we are very focused on sharing information about how to be prepared and how business owners can make their own decisions about whether or not they want to evacuate. We strongly recommend, any level of discomfort, go ahead and head inland. Make friends and family members, even if it's just for a little while, aware that you need to come hang out with them, and let the storm pass, and then work to be able to get back down this way. But having those plans in place now, discussing this with your staff, talking to your insurance provider, and kind of finding out where those guardrails, so to speak, are, so that you can effectively plan for your staff and for your business model. That'll help you better plan for your family as well.
Do you, in emergency management, do you talk about sort of this complacency that can kind of set in when we haven't had a storm for a few years? How do you guys combat that?
Yeah, and it's not only not having a major storm, in the past few years, but it's doing COVID for the last 2.5 years. Everybody is so tired of thinking about disasters and business continuity and all of that. But we want to continue to push out whatever information we can to keep people engaged and involved. And we offer, lots of different opportunities for training, how to kind of improve your own preparedness efforts. We do a community emergency response team training, CERT training. We'll be offering that again a little bit later into hurricane season. But, trying to get people to be actively involved in the preparedness process and having a plan and making a kit and staying informed. We invite people to come be a part of our planning process, because on the government side, we can certainly, write plans for days, but it doesn't really do any good if we don't have that feedback and that back and forth conversation about, what's the need? What are you concerned about? What can we do better? And then just simply asking, just trying to have, just like we're having now, kind of just this laid back kind of chat conversation. What can I do to get you more information, to get you more resources? How can I better support you and make you an active participant? We even go so far as, citizens and businesses are identified in our county emergency operations plan as important key stakeholders in making that plan, making that response and recovery effort work. So, we always, throughout the entirety of the year, we joke about having plans from armadillos to zombies. And we invite everybody to come to the table and help us plan for armadillos to zombies, and make sure that we're ready for anything that comes down the pike. And, just the past 2.5 years alone, just with COVID, has brought unique challenges to business continuity planning, to emergency management in general, where we've been able to have even more conversations about how we can, kind of be better poised to support each other, which has been very helpful in trying to keep people engaged and involved.
And what should we do in the event of a zombie apocalypse?
If you can plan for a zombie apocalypse, you got everything else covered. There's actually, it's we joke about it, and it's funny to joke about, but CDC, probably 5 or 6 years ago now, they actually have a whole zombie preparedness plan, and it's kind of cool, and it kind of applies directly to business operations, and kind of in a fun way, talks about the seriousness about disaster preparedness. And but I think the county will be just fine if the zombies come, so we'll be good.
That's good to know. That's comforting. Yes. All right. Well, can you tell us some things? Are there some things that maybe people, don't think about, even if they've been through hurricanes, or like some of the details that you think would be good to take note of?
I think it's important to remember that every storm is different. Just because Florence had her own unique attributes, so did Bertha, so did Fran, so did every other major storm that has hit us. But then also so have ice storms and snowstorms and anything else that we've had to deal with. A lot of it is, again, not only taking care of that business continuity piece, talking to your insurance provider, both professionally and personally. Remembering that things, especially on the personal side, if you have homeowners insurance, fabulous, that's an awesome start. It doesn't cover flooding. So you need to make sure, that you have the right riders in place, and just calling up your insurance person, kind of squaring that away with them now. If you have, or if you need to get that specialized flood insurance, to remember that it takes 30 days for it to kick in. So 2 weeks before a storm comes is not the time to be trying to get your flood insurance squared away. So make sure that you have all of that done now. Not panic buying is huge, which, right now is a great time to kind of start to add a couple of extra things, as you go out and do your normal, personal shopping, day-to-day shopping. Grab some extra cans of soup or ravioli or, whatever kind of would get you through. And, just kind of like hang on to those. Don't go out and, buy all the water at once or, those kind of things, because that's, it's not, you're not going to have enough places to store things, and it's not taking good care of your resources. So kind of thinking through that, and understanding that if you understand the threat and hazard, you're already kind of reducing that level of panic that you might feel as an incident is occurring, because you've learned a little bit more about whatever the hazard may be. And if you're prepared for the zombie apocalypse, then you're prepared for everything else. And, it's kind of just taking things off in little chunks and making it manageable, and, planning for your pets, planning for your children, planning for people with access and functional needs in your life. Maybe somebody that's, that takes medications every day that they have to have, or, is doing dialysis, or, things like that. Having those conversations now with other care providers is important. And it's a lot to do. And we understand that, which is why if you have a good plan in place, we have this Ready NHC program that we promote, where we're talking about having a plan and making a kit and staying informed. If you make that part of your normal culture, make it part of your business culture, kind of those 3 steps, it'll make it so much easier, whatever the threat may be. It might be a natural hazard like weather, it might be a technological hazard, cyber issues, whatever it is. It's just kind of thinking ahead. So.
Okay, you mentioned some key stakeholders like in the business community when you were talking earlier. And did you mean like Duke Energy and now Novant Health and those kind of things? Is that what you were referring to?
Absolutely. It's both, kind of the larger, PPDs, everybody through the Chamber of Commerce, the Cape Fear Community College, all of those larger folks that we see, but we also absolutely need to increase our participation and our partnerships with those smaller mom and pop kind of shops, those, that serve different kinds of different populations, access and functional need populations, non-English speaking populations, and so on. We want them at the table so that we can plan together and have a better understanding too of our changing community, because we know our population is increasing. We know we have a much more diverse population present in the county, and our primary mission in emergency management is to plan for everybody. So we want to have you at the table to help us plan.
Okay. We had a question on Facebook about, and you mentioned, you were talking about like canned food and things like that. What should go into a kit? And my big thing is flashlights. It's like, do we have enough flashlights? But what else do you think, what else are like some of the top things that should be in a hurricane kit?
So, we encourage folks to think about, what would you need, if you had to go a week before you could get to the grocery store. And a lot of times it is things that you don't need electricity to heat up, right? So, maybe, soup. Yeah, it's better hot, but,
Right.
kind of thing. Comfort foods, especially if you have, any kind of allergies or, that kind of stuff, you need to go ahead and prep up and have in your kit. But a lot of it is just sitting down and talking to your family, right? And it's more than just the food piece. So ready.gov, they actually have a really great checklist that covers everything that you should have in your kit. For example, talking about flashlights, we want you to have flashlights. We want you to maybe think about even like glow sticks, because flashlights need batteries, and batteries after a certain amount of time, they could die or kind of get that white crusty stuff on it. But glow sticks generally are great. We do not want you to have candles at all. Nothing that is fire-ish like that for a lighting source, because we don't want to have that threat for a fire incident in the middle of everything else going on. And it's making your family a part of the solution. So I have my 17-year-old is actively involved in being a part of our planning process. So in our own family emergency kit, we have three 33-gallon Rubbermaid trash cans on wheels, and one of them has food stuff in it, a manual can opener, water, things like that. Another one has changes of clothes, copies of important documents, those kind of insurance needs, things like that. And then our third one has things for our dogs, so that if we need to evacuate, I can grab the kid, the kits, the husband, put them in the truck and send them inland. Everybody's already practiced it. Everybody knows what to do. And my 17-year-old has a portion of the kit that she is responsible for that has her stuff in it that she has determined that she needs. So, if any of you with 17-year-olds now, you can figure, it's a charging cable and a charging cable and a charging cable and whatever else. But, she's responsible for that part of the kit. So it's making, your family members, your staff, all a part of, and having a say and a voice in being better prepared, and what do they need to be, specifically to get through an incident.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have teenagers myself, and the number one thing I'm pretty sure they would put at the top of their list is a way to charge their phones. So if you want your life to be easier during a hurricane, definitely have those chargers for your teenagers. Okay. Well, is there anything, any thoughts you want to leave us with as we wrap up today?
Well, we're doing another lunch and learn session from the EM office with our partners from the National Weather Service on May 11th and at 11:30. If you go to our emergency management Facebook page, there is an event there where you can register online, and I'll send you the Teams link to jump on with us, or you can email me at McRay, it's MCRAY, at nhcgov.com, and I'll send you the link. And this would be a great opportunity to talk directly to the National Weather Service and kind of their take, because they're the subject matter experts that we depend on to help make those key decisions. Just keep in mind, it's not just the wind. We want everybody to kind of be more aware of the general threats and hazards. And, you get to make that final decision about whether or not you're going to evacuate. And if you're going to stay, the first 72 are on you. We want you to be better prepared, have resources in place, have a plan in place, know what you're going to do, and then we'll all be able to get through whatever the emergency is together.
Okay, thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate all the information you shared with us, and we will include the information about the Lunch and Learn and some of those websites you mentioned for resources in our afternoon email today in a link. And you can also access this program via Spotify and some other podcast platforms, as well as on our Facebook page. So thank you so much, Anna.
Thank you.
All right, have a good afternoon.